Do you?
Hi, I'm Lori. This is GLP-1 Journey in Review. Today, we're doing a video in my interview series where we talk to people about their weight loss journey. Today, we have with us Kim, who is also a content creator. Her information is going to be linked down below in the description. So please hit that like and subscribe button. It really does help. Then when you're done watching this video, hop on over to Kim's channel and do the same. You don't know how much that helps us, and it keeps this information going for people who need it. Uh, I have lost over 70 pounds on compounded trizepatide, and I don't know if people are just starting their journey or where they are in the journey. I want to remind everybody that I am not a healthcare provider. Kim is not a healthcare provider. We're talking about what works for us. If you're planning a journey, please seek help from your healthcare provider. All that being said, Kim, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, Lori. Just want to say that to you for having me on. I am
Thank you.
Kim J. I'm Kim J. And I have started a better health journey. July of 2024, I found out I had type 2 diabetes. I was diagnosed with that at a routine visit to my PCP. And so I decided to start a health journey. Um, I am 52 years old right now, or years young. And, so I'm just, over here living my sweet, healthy life. Yes. And, I am a wife, devoted wife. I am a mother of four, and I'm just here to enjoy the journey.
Awesome. Which medication are you on?
I'm on Mounjaro for type 2
Mhm.
diabetes. Hmm.
Awesome. So when they told you that you had type 2 diabetes, were you surprised? Did you have kind of a clue that you might be? Were your labs like inching up over the years or?
Yeah, so my labs were inching up. And I think it was like 2020. And I had to go back and look at, some data or whatever. But
Mhm.
in 2020, I remember my doctor stating, my PCP stating that, I was in a pre-diabetic, range, which is, somewhere between 5.7 and 6.4. And, at that point, it was no real discussion on what to do, about it. How could I, prevent, becoming diabetic or anything? Um, a lot of times they don't talk too much about it. They say, okay, well,
Mhm.
make sure you're, eating better, you're exercising 150 minutes a week and things of that nature. Um, but like really get into it and saying, hey, if you don't do this, get a handle on it now, then you will become diabetic. And when you become diabetic, you know, there's no cure for it. They don't talk,
Mhm.
like that. They don't go in extensive in detail with it. And so I think that's so important. So at some point, I hope that, the medical field decide to, do
Mhm.
that, preventative
Absolutely.
versus, or being proactive versus being reactive. So I didn't know, I knew about diabetes, but didn't know, how quick it can turn into, diabetes. So yeah, I was shocked
So,
that it was,
w-
that I'm sorry.
absolutely.
I was shocked. To a certain extent, I was shocked where the numbers were, not so much shocked that I had developed it because I didn't find out until 2024. So that was 4 years, you know, um, afterwards when I found out I had diabetes.
So was Mounjaro the first choice of drugs, or did they try metformin first, or?
They did want to try metformin first. Actually, let me just go back a little bit more, just to let people know that when I went to my routine visit, just for my, how you have the annual, well, they used to call
Mhm.
it annual back in the day. Now it's like a wellness visit. They may have another name for it at this point. But when I went to that annual, they do the routine checks, blood work and everything, different checks on within your body or whatever while you're there. And so I teased her because, like I said, back then I knew I was pre-diabetic, and I'm like, hopefully, I'll be okay. what have you. I did do a couple of diet, things that I tried to diet, a couple times or whatever, and they were failures. So, when I was
We'll
there, I'm
get into
like,
them in a bit.
yeah. So I was like, hopefully I don't have, diabetes, but, I'm just not sure. But could be. So anyway, I decided to, I mean, went and got that routine checkup, but then also, they say, okay, we're going to do blood work. When I did the blood work, it came back that I had diabetes. My diabetes was, my A1C was 15.1. So that is dangerously high. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go to the hospital. Okay, they called me. I found out. I went to the appointment on July 3rd of 2024. You have that. They take their stuff through Quest. That's what they use. The laboratories they use. And so, if you go early enough, then you can get the results back the same day or the day or the very next day. So when I look back at my the Quest app that I have on my phone, on the fourth, I noticed that my A1C was a 15.1, and my blood glucose fasting blood glucose was over 400. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, what am I about to do? You know, and so they called me that Monday after the holiday, and they were like, you need to go to the hospital immediately. So I had to go to the hospital. I was in the hospital for 2 days because they was trying to get my blood glucoses down, the levels down to the normal range. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was there for 2 days, and they told me they wanted to put me on metformin. They also told me I had to go on insulin. I was kicking and screaming about the insulin, didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, be sticking myself, several times a day. And so that's what I, ended up having to do the insulin for a while. So I knew I had to do something. I had already had high blood pressure. I had kidney disease, and then now diabetes. Something had to happen, so yeah. So I told them I did not want to go on metformin. I heard a lot of stories about metformin, about the GI issues and everything, make people getting sick from it, especially African American. So, and that's what they love to put you on. That's normally the initial drug they try to put you on when
Mm-hmm.
you have diabetes. And I was like, nope, don't want to go on diabetes. But what about Mounjaro? I had already known about Mounjaro, so I was like, let's try that. I want to, lose some weight, like I told you previously, for years. And so I was like, I knew Mounjaro would help me, manage my blood sugars, and then of course ultimately A1C. And then I knew that, people was losing weight from it. So I decided, hey, this is a tool that can help me lose weight and help me with diabetes. Yeah, sign me up. So I asked my the doctor at the hospital. I was like, hey, you know, what about Mounjaro? And I said, so I know about Ozempic, I know about Mounjaro, a little bit about it, and enough about it to where, and I know that would be a great choice. And so I said, which one you think would be better for me? And she said, Mounjaro will more than likely be the
Mm-hmm.
best for you. So I was like, well, sign me up for it. So she said she would approve it for me. So she said, but you have to go home with insulin as well. I was on a fast acting insulin as well as a slow acting insulin.
Mm-hmm.
Initially. Yep. So, and then I didn't start my Mounjaro journey until July 30th of 2024.
And how are your labs doing now? Do you know?
The labs are much better now. In 5 months, I was able to get my A1C back down from a 15.1, which is, or those who don't,
Mm-hmm.
is dangerously high. I mean, I could have stroked out. I could have, lost one of my limbs. I could have, had neuropathy, which is nerve damage, and some other things that, unfortunately, uncontrolled diabetes, can, cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, within 5 months, I was able to get my A1C back down to the normal range, which was 5.6 at the time. The normal range is 5.6 or under, um, with your A1C. And so I was able to get it back down. I was serious about it. I came out the gate fighting. When I found out, after I got at the hospital, I went running. And so I was able to get it back down. So in 5 months, 5.6 was that number. And now it's 5.4 the last time we checked. Yeah.
Awesome. Has it helped your blood pressure or any of your other issues?
Yes. So with my blood pressure, I now let's go back to a little bit when it comes to my blood
Mhm.
pressure. After I had my last baby, my blood pressure started going up really bad, and I started having issues with swelling. And at my 6 week checkup, I could not, my legs would never like go down. So my doctor at the time was like, hey, we're going to put you on some water pills, try to get this, the fluid out your
Mhm.
legs and everything, your ankles and everything. And then they decided they needed to put me on blood pressure medicine as well because my pressure was up. Well, over the years, I kind of played around with it. I prayed about it, of course. I'm a woman of faith. And I prayed to God about it or whatever. And, Lord, help me with this. Lord, I know, I just started claiming my healing at the time, but I wasn't doing anything about it, as far as, changing my lifestyle, as far as, nutrition, doing
Mhm.
the exercise I need to do and things of that nature. So, at times I would have the medicine, get it filled, but I'll kind of play with it. I'll take it whenever I felt like it, or whenever I thought, maybe um, my blood pressure was up. Unfortunately, with my blood pressure, I didn't feel a whole lot of like side effects from it. Like some people, they'll see spots, so at times when their blood pressure is high, or they'll get a headache, things like that. I did not, unfortunately. So it didn't like scare me to let me go ahead and take this medicine
Mhm.
every day. It was years and years and years before I decided to do what I was supposed to do when it came to medication, like taking it every day like it was prescribed. And it actually took somebody, um, one of my real close friends, I call her a sister. Her mother-in-law passed. She had a blood clot that came up her leg and went eventually got to her heart, and she passed. And right before then, I remember God speaking to me and saying, "Hey, you need to start taking your medicine." Um, Another time that I would take my medicine also was like right before I started going to a doctor. At the doctor's appointment, I'm like, you know what? I need to take this medicine because I don't want them to fuss at me about, taking medicine. And I didn't want my blood pressure to show that it was up. My blood pressure used to be 200. It got to the point where it was 200 something over 100 something. And a normal
Ah,
blood pressure is 120 over 80 or under. Yeah. So, and it was crazy that I was not feeling any, side effects to it. So with that being
silent killer.
said, huh?
It's a silent killer.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So, with that being said, as time progressed, I ended up developing kidney disease because of uncontrolled blood pressure. Even though I started taking
Mhm.
my medicine, but it was, I guess, kind of a little too late. Um, and so I do urge you all, just look as a disclaimer, do not do that. Take care of
Mhm.
yourself. Because unfortunately, things like this will happen. When you don't take care of one thing, then of course something else can come about. So, and I know you hear this cliche, but but it's reality as well. So yes.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
one of the good things
So,
is
mhm.
Mounjaro is supposed to help with mild kidney disease.
Right, exactly. So just to answer your question, because I did want to give a backstory, but just to answer your question, since I've been taking Manjaro, I've lost some weight. My blood pressure now is in the normal range. So yes, so that's
And you're
my
still
diabetes.
taking blood pressure medication?
I do still take it. My kidney doctor, because I now go to a kidney specialist since I,
Mhm.
started my better health journey in 2024. Um, he stated that I may end up staying on it. Because I'm 52, his thoughts are, if we take you off of it and you've been on it for so long, um, it may be, say something happens and, my pressure shoots up, what defense mechanism do I have to kind of help, with, you know, this this blood pressure, that may have gone up, too far, and especially with me not
Mhm.
having symptoms, you know, who knows? So he said we're going to monitor it and we'll talk about it, as time progresses. So yes, I still am on. I'm on a sartan for blood
Mhm.
pressure but it also helps me with my kidneys too, to preserve them. Yes, and then I do
I
take
used to be on
lactone.
losartan.
I'm sorry. I
I
take
used I
sparing
used to be on the
lactone as
losartan
well.
also.
I'm sorry. You said what?
I said I used to be on the losartan as well.
Oh yeah, yes.
I'm now off of it since I
Mhm.
lost the weight.
Okay, okay, yes, yes. So that's good. Thank you. That's awesome for you. Great, great, great. Yes. So I'm so excited when I hear people, sharing their I call it testimony, but their successes on the on a journey, and just to I love to hear it because so many people have
Hmm.
their feelings about it and how it's not good and it can hurt you and these things like that. But I love hearing the success stories of how this medication is helping us, and debunking those all those things that people
Hmm.
tend to say about it. Now, I'm not saying that people don't have issues with it; they do, but just like any other medication, you may have a success with it, and some medications you don't. So yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I always tell people, carrying that extra 70 plus pounds around wasn't healthy for me either. So,
correct.
I think this is a better option for me.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And just like you said, it's for you. And the same thing I could say for myself. I guess we have that in common. I lost 74 pounds within a year on this better health journey. And weight loss, I don't really focus on weight loss as much as you see some of the other people do because of course, like I said, I'm on Mounjaro, and with Mounjaro, it's for managing type 2 diabetes. That's why I got on the journey to manage my type 2 diabetes. That was the most important, thing at the moment. And then also my other comorbidities, trying to get my blood pressure back down. That helped me,
Hmm.
tremendously because I lost the weight. You know, losing weight definitely helps with diabetes as well
Absolutely.
as like I said with kidney disease. So yes.
You were saying earlier that you tried losing weight before and failed. What kind of things did you try that failed?
So I tried weight well the ones I remember because it's been quite a few. But Weight Watchers, I tried. I did lose like 20 pounds within a month, but I couldn't stick with it. It wasn't sustainable. And then
Hmm.
I also tried keto a couple different times. And at that time, it was not sustainable either. Um, while I love meat, so high protein is not a problem for me on this,
Hmm.
better health journey here. But because I could not get any or very, very few carbs. The carbs came from veggies, like green leafy veggies. I missed carbs at the time. Yeah. So
Hmm.
it wasn't sustainable either. So I quickly got off of it. So I was like roller coaster on and off of it, here and there. I did lose like the first time I decided to do the keto diet, I lost 9 pounds in a week, of course, a lot of that is water weight and things of that nature.
Hmm.
But I was on it for a second week, and then I'm like, something came up in my life where we went to a wedding, and I'm like, this cake coming around here. I want some of this cake. I want some rice. I want carbs too. So oh, let me do it, and I'll jump back on Monday, and eat that, and let me jump back on Monday, and it was just like a too much back and forth. So I ended up failing that. Yeah. So this is my first time, being on a health journey that it was actually sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but I've lost the weight many times.
Hmm.
But like you said, it's not sustainable, and it seems like Weight Watchers. I've tried things like the cabbage soup diet. You lose the weight, but nobody really knows about maintenance and
Uh-huh.
how to keep it off because
Right.
everybody tends to get it back,
Hmm.
and that's where I think the GLP-1 is so much better because I'm not going to say it makes you eat healthier food, but your cravings change. And,
Yes.
rather than the cake, you know, 9 times out of 10, I'll crave fruit
Hmm.
for the sugar. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
not saying that I'll never eat cake, and nothing should be off limits, which is what makes this sustainable where the others weren't.
Hmm. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And at that time when I started my journey, I didn't want cake, because, and I tell it on my channel, like, I actually prayed to God about it, and asked him to help me with, this. And of course, the faith is there, that he was going to help me there, just like it was back in the day with the,
Hmm.
with the blood pressure. But this time I realized, I need to not only have faith, but I also need to, make sure I'm doing the work. So, it's a verse in the Bible that says, faith without works is dead. And so, with that
Hmm.
being said, I'm like, I need to put my work in as well. So, that's what I decided to do. And I went hard, like I said, out the gate with it, as the kids say, and, to get it done. And I decided to do a very low carb diet because I want to be
Hmm.
aggressive with it so that I can get my blood sugars down, as quick as possible. Like I said, it took 2 days for it to get down from, when I went to the hospital. By the time I went there, it was like the high threes, like 380 something. And then, then it finally, went down. It took 2 days to go down to, a range that was manageable. And so I
Hmm.
just need to get it done. And just to let you all know, and Lori, that I was on insulin. Yes, I was. I did go home with it, but
Hmm.
I was able to get off insulin for in 2 months. I started off with just insulin, and then what I was eating, eating the low carb for about almost 3 weeks, and then I started my Mounjaro journey July 30th of 2024. That day I went to the first time I went to an endocrinologist, and that is a doctor that can help you, manage your diabetes.
Hmm.
And so when I went there, I found out I was 253 pounds at the time. And I said, okay, that I'm starting my jar journey as well as my weight loss journey, on that day. And so CVS, is who my pharmacy is, they called me on the way to the appointment, and I was like, they were like, hey, we have everything is approved, and the medication is here for pickup. So of course, after that doctor's appointment, I went straight there and got my first four, you know, my box of pills that
Hmm.
had four pens in it, and I started on the 2.5 milligram dose, and that night I started. Yep, I started. That was a Tuesday
Hmm.
night. Yep.
Were you nervous? Because there's a lot of bad rumors out there.
Just a moment, Laura.
Sure.
Hurry up. That's my daughter. I'm sorry, y'all.
No
She
problem.
had to come in to get something. She been itching. Okay, so you can go ahead.
Were you nervous because there's a lot of bad talk about severe side effects and all that kind of stuff?
No, I was not nervous about it. I mean, like I say, all medicines have side effects, you know,
Hmm.
and so, like I said, I prayed about it. I gave it to God, and like I said, I know He's on, He takes care of me. So, even in the midst of all the things that I've gone through, the adversities that I had to face, He's taking care of me. So, no, the side effects wasn't. It wasn't a scare for me. I know some people are scared of the side effects of it. They hear so much about it. I wasn't hearing all the bad things until after I started the medication. All the things that people would say about it, negatively. But I did know metformin was not good for me.
Hmm.
Like I said earlier, but when I looked, like researched it, I'm a person that likes researching, a lot. And so when I researched it, not only did I know people that has had, issues with metformin, but I noticed that it said it's not good for people that have kidney stones. So I'm like, well, why would they want to put that on me anyway? So yeah, I knew about that one, and I'm like, nope, don't want to do it, not at all. And like I said, but the Mounjaro, I really wasn't, concerned about the side effects like that because, like I said, I knew that every medicine does have the side effects, but I didn't hear any, people saying they had so many, bad issues, with
Hmm.
it. So at the time, yeah.
Did you have any side effects?
Yes, I did. Initially when 2.5, I was fine. Of course, one of the side effects, which is a good one, is that it helps, suppress your appetite, right? So we all want
Hmm.
that one, right? But it also it helps with controlling food noise. Um, Now with the food noise, it did help me to a certain extent. I do have some food noise, but when I think about food noise, how I hear people, within the community talk about it, where, you know, as an example, people, where you may eat something, but then you still thinking about, the next meal or the next 2 or 3 meal, or you don't seem like your brain doesn't shut off when it comes to food.
Hmm.
Um, I don't experience it that way. But certain things that like I love Coca-Cola. Okay. I still love it today. But I could like drink Coca-Cola like people drink water. Okay. 2 or 3 times a day, for years. And so I decided when I went on keto, of course you can't have the carbs. So I was able to find a way to get off of, the soda. But like I said, quickly I returned to it. And now on keto, you can do, zero sugar Coke, or I could have done, Diet Coke, but I did not like the taste of them.
Hmm.
So I would never try it. I tried it, but I would never like stick with it per se. And so, on this better health journey, like I said, I knew I had to do something different. So I had to come up with something, but I did not I did not have the desire to drink soda at all when I first started. I did not have the desire to eat rice. I love rice. We grew up on rice almost every single day. I did not have the desire to drink, to eat rice. I didn't have the desire to eat potatoes. All of the carby things, the desire went away, so I do thank and praise God for that, because again, that was an indication that He was helping me, because that was something that I would never do.
Hmm.
I love meat, and I would eat more meat than anything on my plate, but I did have carbs on it, every single day. So, and I didn't crave those things that I craved before. If I would go to a birthday party and they had Publix cake, about Publix cake, I would like, can I get 2 slices, like easily? And I want another one, but I was able to control myself and say, Kim J, that's too much. You can't have that. That's enough. And I would have to stop, but I could literally eat more if I wanted to. So that's what I mean when I say, I didn't have just examples of the food noise like, other people typically do. But I do think it's part of food noise, because when I saw it, I wanted it.
Hmm.
And then I almost couldn't, I had to have at least a taste of it. So,
Have you found that any foods taste differently since you've started the Mounjaro?
um, I still like the foods that I have tried since Manjaro. I still like, all the foods. I don't remember any food that I've tasted. I was like, I don't like this no more. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm real picky. I'm a very picky person when it comes to food. I'm persnickety. But yeah, everything that I've tried since Manjaro, because I did, put some things back into my regimen. I don't eat extremely low carb anymore because I was able to get the A1C down, and now it's managed. And I'm in the normal range. I've been in the normal range since January 2025.
Hmm.
But I don't remember anything that I actually put back in my regimen that I did not like anymore. Now I can say my taste buds is sensitive as far as the seasonings that I use. I don't have to season my food as much as I did before.
Hmm.
So I can say that, yeah. And
Okay.
then just not
Uh,
wanting, the things like I used to, certain, things like I used to. I still don't want soda like that. I mainly drink water. I do put mix-ins in my water.
Hmm.
Initially, I wasn't even doing the mix-ins because it seems like it raised my sugar. Some people don't have that side effect, but I do. It still raised my sugar, even with the ones that it's like the natural sugars or the sugar substitutes. Same thing with, like, if Minute Maid sugar, I could drink a little bit of that. I mean, I'm sorry, Minute Maid no sugar, or sugar, no sugar added. I could drink a little bit of that, but I mainly drink water because even like the no sugar drinks, the other no sugar drinks, I couldn't do it. It was kept raising my sugar, and I was getting to the point where I was like, oh no, I don't want to raise, I don't want to go, too far high, too high. So I decided to, just let up on it altogether for a while, just to make sure I can get those blood sugars down where I needed them to be, and for them to stay down and and manageable. Yeah. So that's kind of
I
how
forgot
it
the
goes.
name of it, but the sugar-free artificial sweeteners have an ingredient, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it begins with an X or something like that, that
Hmm.
can raise people's blood sugar.
Hmm.
Because I know I did a video probably about 8 months ago
Okay.
that it was in some of the element electrolytes. So,
Hmm.
like, I wore a glucose monitor to see if it affected, and it didn't affect me, but I have heard it affecting people, with spiking their blood sugars. So,
Right.
that's a real thing.
Yes, yes. And I think I had issues with multidextrin um, at the beginning, in the beginning of my journey, and where I found out it will raise. Even like I was trying the what is it called? It's a fiber. Not benefiber. That was fine. But what's the other fiber that people Metamucil?
Hmm.
I would try that, and the one that's, um, is supposed to help with blood sugar, lower the blood sugar,
Hmm.
and just to get some extra fiber in. And that was raising my blood sugars too. So yeah, I just said, you know what, I'm gonna, kind of stay clear of most things. And like I said, I found out that the Minute Maid no sugar added, that was doable. So I did that, and water is what I started off with. But now I can do all that stuff, because I haven't had any issues,
Hmm.
after I got the blood sugars under control. Yeah.
So, what does a typical day of food look like to you?
So for me, again, I'm low carb. I'm not as low as I was before. Back then, I was almost keto. But and I forgot to mention that I, intermittent fast back
Hmm.
in the day. I had to kind of slow down on that because when you have diabetes, you have hyperglycemic or hyperglycemic hyperglycemia. I'm sorry. Um, and that means it's, high blood sugars, right? But as time progressed, because I was doing so well, because I was intermittent fasting, because I was eating like I was eating. That's how that's another reason why my blood sugars went down to the normal range, and my A1C eventually went down to the normal range so fast, because of the things I was doing, because of the walking I was doing. I had started a little bit of strength training and all that. All of that helped me, get to where I was and be so successful in those 5 months. But you know, as time progressed, I, was doing the low carb, and I had to start like increasing my carbs, the amount of carbs that I would eat a day, because I started having hypoglycemic episodes,
Hmm.
which is low sugars for those who don't know. And it was happening a little bit more than it should have been. So anything under, like, when you prick your finger with your glucose monitor, anything under 70 deciliters, that's not, that's considered, too low. And so therefore you need to hurry up and eat some food, so that, you can go back into the range that it should be, which is between 70 and 100. So yeah, so that's what I did. But I decided to start eating a little bit more carbs and everything. And so today I'm more intuitively eating, but I'm still on a low carb, regimen. I eat, high fiber. I eat high protein, and then low carb. So a typical day for me is, um, I normally in the first thing that I drink, of course, is water. But then I also make sure I get in a protein shake, and coffee. So we call it Profi. So I do
Mhm.
that, drink some of that, and then I have like typical breakfast would be, and mostly my go-to is two eggs, boiled eggs. I don't like scrambled eggs, but two boiled eggs, four pieces of bacon, and then two pieces of toast. Now the toast that I chose to eat is the Sola. That's the one I'm eating right now. I'm enjoying that, and I put some high fiber jelly on it, and of course a spat of butter on that. So that's my normally my breakfast. You see, high protein.
Mhm.
And then for lunch, I could maybe just say typically eat some tuna. I normally eat the albacore tuna before I would eat the regular tuna. It has about 17 grams of protein in it. I started eating the albacore tuna, which has a lot more in it of protein. So I would eat that. I put, two eggs in there, and some mayonnaise, some veggies in it, and I'll eat that either on a low carb wrap. I'll eat it on a bed of like a salad, or I may
Mhm.
eat it with some crackers, um, and I may eat some fruit with it. Like normally, my go-to fruits are gala apples, which has a lot of fiber in it, about 4 grams of fiber per 4 ounces, and then or I'll may eat mandarin oranges, like little mandies.
Mhm.
I eat that. And that has like the ones that I purchased has 2 grams of fiber in it. So in my tuna, I always make sure I put flaxseed in it. And also with my breakfast, my toast, I always put flaxseed on that as well to get extra fiber. And it also gives me a little bit of extra protein. As far as and that's just one meal. Um,
Mhm.
Dinner, I'll eat, something high protein like pork chop, chicken. Sometimes I'll eat tuna for dinner. Um, but if I eat like pork chop or chicken, some fish, I will also, have like some green beans or spinach. I'll eat, some kind of veggie, and then I
Mhm.
have some rice now. Well, before I would not eat the rice at all. When I first started. So, or I may have some mashed potatoes. Sometimes I don't have any of those carbs. I'll eat maybe another tangerine or a cutie, mandarin orange.
Mhm.
Um, something like that. And of course, like I said, I will still drink my Minute Maid, no sugar added drinks, or I will do, like a mix in my water. So sometimes I get like how Mio. I don't know if you heard of a Mio. It's a liquid
Mhm.
mix in. I may do
Right.
that. Stir is another one that I would, that I use. And then since I was in Texas for Christmas, I went to HEB, finding out what the hype is about HEB. Everybody talks about so much. And I got their brand of the liquid, you know, add-ins.
Mhm.
Or I'll do Sunkiss. I love me some Sunkiss. Sunkiss is kind of like the Crystal Lights, but it's a Sunkiss brand, and so I'll put those in my water. Sometimes I do lemon water. Lemon water is very good for your liver. So sometimes I'll do that. And it also helps lessen the insulin spike of eating
Right.
carbs. Yeah. So that's my
So
typical day.
what is your favorite protein?
My favorite protein is meat. I like
Do
meat.
you have a particular
I
kind of meat
love
that you like?
chicken. I love chicken.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's probably my favorite. But I also love shrimp. I love pork chop. So those are and then I used to love roast, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't eat roast as much. It's not because of the GLP-1. It's just I hadn't been eating as much. But yeah, those are the three things: shrimp for the seafood. Um, and you would probably think it's tuna because I eat tuna a whole lot, but I love shrimp. If since you said love shrimp, and I do still eat that. And then, like I said, chicken for the what is it? the poultry, and then
Hmm.
pork chop for the what is it called, pork. Yeah, yep.
So, do you incorporate exercise or workout with your wellness plan?
Yes, I do. Which I talked about a little previously, since when I was talking about it earlier. But yes, I started off walking. Um, Look, I know some people say couch to run. They do like a couch to run to get
Hmm.
exercise in. Honey, I was caught couch to walk. Because of course, when I'm not working right now, and since I've been on my journey, I have not, I was fortunate enough not to have to work. And because me and my husband talked about it, and we were like, hey, I had gotten laid off, and right before I found out I had diabetes, and he was like, let's, take care of your health first. Of course, it was a scare to everybody that I've,
Hmm.
had diabetes, and especially with it being, my A1C being, so high, dangerously
Hmm.
high. So, he was like, sit for a spell. Let's try to get this, your health under control. And this will be the perfect time since you're laid off. I had a severance package they gave me. And so, I was kind of, well off with that. And they blessed me, quite a bit with that. So I was able to do that. And I thank God for that as well. Now, so I said, you know what, let me start walking. Since I have time, at home, I just walk. I can at least do that. And I started with my walking. Um, and then at first it was just me walking, just getting my 30 minutes in. And then I started, challenge myself with, 6,000 steps and 7,000 steps. And I got up to the point where I was at 10,000 steps, on an average, per day. And so, I actually for some reason I started feeling, issues with my legs. Now, just to let you know, a while back, some years ago, I had tore my patella. So I had to have surgery because of it. And so you know how when you have surgery, it's never like it was before. So I wasn't having any arthritis, at the time or whatever before. But then, as time progressed, because of the swelling, because of the inflammation, because of the wear and tear, you know, um, I would get a lot of swelling. And so because I had the surgery, I had to compensate, with the leg because I could not, step on that leg for a while, for weeks at a time. And so I had to compensate with the other leg. And so I kind of messed that leg up too because I was so heavy and,
Hmm.
with weight or whatever. And so, my knees just don't work like they used to. And I would get a lot of inflammation in it. And so because I was pounding that pavement so much, every day, it took a toll on me. And then I started having, like leg pain to where I almost couldn't walk, but I was still out there trying to get it because I was so focused on getting it done. And I was unfortunately hurting myself more than helping to a point that I had to sit down. My husband was like, girl, you're doing too much. Like, sit down, let your body rest. And then you can go and do it again. And so that's what I had to do. And that was like right before Thanksgiving that year, 2024. But I got back up, after I kind of cooled off for a little bit. My, all the inflammation kind of went away and everything. And so I was able to start walking. So I started back stepping. I just step in place, and I did that in the home, and I could do it here and there. And then I kind of worked my way back up to being able to do, more walking. Um, Got to the point where I could get back up to 6,000 steps. I went back outside, started, walking. I love walking outside because, of course, you know, it's for one to get that vitamin D. I'm in sunny Florida. So, I
Hmm.
get that vitamin D, the natural vitamin D that we need. And then also, just being out there in nature, it helps with the mental, it is, I'm able to, kind of talk to God. I'm by myself, just, having a great time, out there walking. And then I started back at this, then I moved my steps up to 7,000 steps and then 7,500. So I just slowly, got back up to that. In November of 2024, I decided not only since I can't walk, let me go ahead and do some, some strength training because I didn't know anything about strength training as far as how important it was for those, especially that's on a GLP-1 medication or somebody that has weight loss surgery or just losing weight pretty rampant. Um, I decided to start strength training, that was going to be good for me. So I won't lose too much muscle. Everybody on a weight loss journey can lose, muscle. I mean, even just living, just the regular living your life, as you
Hmm.
age, you lose muscle. So I decided to, as I was listening to people in the community, I was like, you know what? Let me start strength training. But I was sporadically doing it, right? I bought some weights. I had already had 2 pounders, which is, not much for me at the time because, I had gotten stronger or whatever. And so, but I bought some 5 pound weights. I bought some 8 pound dumbbells and I bought eventually some 10 pound dumbbells. And I got them from Five Below. The fives I got
Hmm.
from, I want to say it was Marshalls. And my twos, I forgot where I got it from because, like I said, I had it for years. But yeah, so I used that. I used that, and then December of 2024, I decided to start using the. I said I need to go on a like a routine, and I started doing, strength training 3 times a week. Yes. So
Yeah, that's
it's,
great.
yes, and then 2025, I said, let me update Annie again, and I started, doing. I decided to go back to the gym, and work out there because I knew that the 510, the ones I was using at home, the dumbbells I was using at home, it limits me, right? So I do have some loose skin, um, or I should say what sagging skin under my
Hmm.
arms. I have bat wings, they call it, and I want to get rid of that. I have some, skin, in my belly area that I would love to, get rid of, as well as some jiggly in my thighs. So I guess I don't know if it's called loose skin. I'm saying loose skin, but I'm not really sure if it's called loose skin or it's just just too much of it, I should say, and it's
Hmm.
not going. It's not retracting like I want it to. So I decided, if I could at least get my strength training in, it may like fill some of that and make it appear to not be, so saggy, I guess I would say, or so
Absolutely.
loose, so jiggly. So yeah, so I decided, hey, let me go into the gym and become a gym girl.
There you go.
So yeah, so right now I'm in my body recomp era where I'm trying to lose as much fat as I can as well as build muscle.
So tell us a little bit about your channel. When you started it, uh, how it works.
Okay, so with my channel, I decided to, I was, walking one day and, it just came to me. I'm like, I had already been looking for, because let me back up. When I, was, when I started my journey, I was talking to the nurse that was in my discharge nurse, and she was like, in the hospital, and she was like, we're here for you. You have doctors and things of that nature. You're going to be seeing an endocrinologist. You're going to be seeing a kidney doctor. You're going to be seeing your PCP regularly, and we're going to help you. Try to manage this disease. But she said, and I thought it was profound, and I did just that. She said, find a community, because the community is going to help you more than we can, ever can, when it comes to daily, situations and things of that nature. Testimonials, if you will, and so, and just learning a lot of things with, that they've done, so that it may help me, of course. And I do say on my channel, you always want to make sure you talk to your doctors. You want to get with the
Mm.
dietitian. It's very good to get with a dietitian so you can know what your macros need to be. You want to do stuff that helps you, that serves you best, or well. And so that you can, become better with health, okay, as much as you possibly can. You may not be able to get back to where you was, way back when you didn't have any challenges, but you want to get as close as you possibly can, you know, and hope and pray that, we do get back to that state where we are, totally, healed of all the things that we have going on at this point. So I, was walking one day, and a lot of times when I walk, I'm singing, I'm, praising God and things like that, talking to Him and everything, letting Him, talk to me. And it was, it came to me like, start a channel. You have something that you can give to the community, you know,
Mm-hmm.
especially with your A1C being up to 15.1, and you were able to get the A1C down. I did use a continuous glucose monitor, and at first, when I right before I got at the hospital, they put the continuous glucose monitor on me, and I used it up until um I think it was the beginning of December. So I knew how my blood sugars was every minute of the day. I used the Freestyle Libre, and so, I knew that my blood sugars was going down really, good, and I was able to, kind of manage it well. That was before I even found out, I went to get my blood work done in January. So I knew I had a story to tell. And, you know, God always tells us, make sure that we, speak to people outside, try to, bring the people in. And, that's, a lot of times about salvation or whatever. But even in the natural, if I can help someone when it comes to, managing their diabetes, their blood pressures, their kidney disease, whatever, or just in general, then I want to be able to be there to help. On my jobs, I've been a trainer. I love helping people. I love seeing people succeed. So, since that already is embedded in me, that's me. I love researching. I decided to, start my channel. I was scared. I talked about it a little bit last night and one of the other lives, because I do, live streams on Tuesday night at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you want to check me out, but
Link will be in the description.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you for that. But with that, I was very scared to get on YouTube. Um, and people have fear and they say, well, do it afraid. Well, for me, I'm used, for a long time, and that's in my career, that's in life in general. A lot of times fear cripples me, unfortunately. And so I was kind of sharing that on my channel, last night on the live stream, letting them know, hey, it's some things that I wish I would have done more in 2025, given, more input, videos and things of that nature. But it was a lot of fear that was, that kind of held me up. And so in 2026, I'm like, I have to push through the fear as well. Just like I persevered through all the other things that I've, done in my life, I have to do the same here because I need to overcome that fear, And so I do have to do it afraid. And I did, I did. I'm not going to, downplay it because I
Mm-hmm.
did put a good bit of videos out, but I did the things that I was more comfortable with. So now I need to get to, doing even more, conversations, having sit down videos and things of that nature. In my lives, I do talk a lot about, better health things,
Mm-hmm.
mind, body, spirit. And I'm happy I was able to get it out like that. But one of the fears I had, or one of the weird things about, doing videos, I would look at myself in this camera and I'm like, who am I talking to? I feel weird, And so, that helped me up. I have a lot of perfectionism that I have to deal with, because I understand that we are not perfect. I do understand that. But in my mind, it's all in my mind, like, wait a minute, you got to take this out. Wait a minute, you messed up here. You messed up here. Let's delete that. So that kind of stuff that I'm working through. So I think YouTube, when I went on it, my why was to share my journey, and I also wanted to help people just in case they had similar stories or they know family members that, they want to help,
Mm-hmm.
through their sicknesses and everything. Um, but my channel is about, better health, mind, body, spirit, soul. Okay. And so, yes, I do talk about God because that's in me. I've been, in the church all my life. So, it's in me, and what is in you will come out, at some point. So
Mm-hmm.
I do talk about that. I am a Christian.
Okay, we'll take all the
Yes,
help we could get.
Yes, 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 right. Especially with, so many things that we go through. We go through shame, we go through guilt, it's so many things, mindful things that, we deal with on a daily basis, and sometimes you don't, tell people about it, or you don't have anybody to talk to. So I do try to give, some scripture a little bit here and there. I do try to, encourage people. I'm, really about encouraging people. I think that's one of my gifts I have. I love people. Try to lead with love, you know, um, or I do lead with love, I should say, not try, because it's not hard to
Mhm.
do it. Um, and, I just want to, help people, so this year I'm planning on, doing even more, opening my, mouth, finding my voice, within the community and
Mhm.
everything. So yeah, I'm looking forward to 2026. I enjoyed 2025 with what I did do, and like I said, while I could have done even more, I am excited about what 2026 will bring for my channel. Yes. So y'all give me
Absolutely.
some grace
There you go.
for those who already
Oh,
follow
but
me. Yeah.
one thing that really surprised me most when I started my channel is how supportive this community really
Yes.
is. I
Yes.
mean, I was just totally stunned.
Yes.
Uh, uh, I mean, people will talk to me about certain things that they won't even talk to their doctor about, which they
Yes.
probably should be talking to their doctor about,
Yes.
which shows where the trust in society actually is.
Right, right. And I think sometimes because maybe some people don't can afford a doctor for one. I mean, it's so expensive nowadays. And I know, like at one point, our insurance, it was they were copays, so $25. And I know some people, it's hard times. People fall on hard times because of society. Either working, they the jobs they work may be low income, not paying you that much, low pay, or some people have lost their jobs, or whatever the case may be, or they're just scared of hearing about diagnoses, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes they may have been lied to. They may not be heard. At the doctor's office. Because the doctors, they have their mind set on a certain thing. Some of them, and they're not listening to their patients. Or they're
Mm,
like, try this medicine, try this medicine, try this medicine, but they may not be telling you well, what can I eat to help me? How much can I move, or things like that. The typical practical things. They may not be going over that stuff with you. They're just throwing medicine at you. I can
right.
understand that. That can be nerve wracking. Especially when I say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it, and then it's not helping, it's not working, whatever. And then, okay, well, here's another medicine, to do, to use. And so that can
Mm,
be, a little mind
absolutely.
boggling. Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's why. And then we are here sharing our journeys, giving our testimonies, like I said, telling them what has helped us, brought about success, our the things that are not serving us well, and things like that. So they, start hearing it all the time,
Hmm.
and it's like, my ears are open. What are you talking about? How can I help myself? And so I think that's why people, tend to listen to us a little more than they do, and it's a person, like, even though we don't know each other for real, in our, real life,
Hmm.
um, but we get to know each other because we are a community that really, really
Right.
rocks for each other. Yeah. I love my community.
Absolutely.
I thank God for my community. I think, I tend to think that, the GLP-1 community, is very tight, very close. We may have, things that's going on, where everybody's not following everybody, or whatever the case may be, but I think we all are cheering each other on, whether we
Hmm.
watch your channel or not, or whatever. We are cheering each other on, and we want the best for everyone. And so I think that that close knit community does help tremendously. With
It
the
does.
success that we've had. I was talking to someone, um, you know, a couple weeks ago, and I was like, you know what? We were getting ready for, actually it was Felicia Marie B. Um,
Hmm.
we were
I love
getting
her.
ready for our New Year's Eve extravaganza. and for December 31st, and we were kind of looking for like games to play, and we wanted to do a trivia. So we were looking through different things, different websites to try to see what kind of um, games that we can. I'm sorry, questions that we could ask. That's not easy. Like what are some
Mm-hmm.
that's not that's kind of make you think, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, do you realize how much we've learned on YouTube? Like, it's a lot of bad things that we can find on YouTube or any other social media platform. But I do thank God, that we are able to, find good things, that good things land in our lap as well, And so that's another thing, like I was saying earlier, my, my discharge nurse from the hospital was like, hey, find your community. So I'm happy I just chose YouTube as that platform, as a social media platform to, go to search for my community. And when I did, I mean, it didn't take that long. Like it was very quick. I found a community, and I love each and every one of, the people that are within my community, the small, the smaller community as well as the, bigger
Mm-hmm.
community, you know, yeah. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's why I
So
started my channel, just to help people grow,
awesome.
share my
Same
experiences.
here.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because if you take a little bit from this person, a little bit from this person, you develop your own way of doing things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I do want to say too, even though, you may, listen at us, for those who out there listening at, this interview, even though you may be, hearing, and gathering things, that may help you, still make sure you talk to your doctor. It's still good. If for
absolutely.
some reason you cannot trust your doctors, or you don't,
Yet
believe
another
what,
doctor.
yeah, whatever, just make sure, you can find another one. You don't have to have the same doctor all your life. You can try to
Hmm.
find someone else, if you need to, and also having a dietitian, like I said, it helps too. And if that dietitian that you may have, a nutritionist that you have, if they don't help you, definitely make sure that you look for another one. The reason why I say this is because, there, like we said, side effects are, you know um we have side effects to our medications, right? And just say for some reason you don't know, like for me, I didn't know I had diabetes, and I may start a medication, hearing somebody else talk about their medication on here, or something that they've done, and I start that, and it may hurt me. So say for instance, just to give an example, I know a lot of people love Element, okay, LMNT.
Hmm.
They love it, right? But say if they find out they have hypertension, you have hypertension, and your sodium levels, if you don't know your numbers, you haven't, went to the doctor and went to a laboratory to find out, how your blood, how your blood work is, and you're drinking so much Element because it tastes good, right? And we know it's good
Hmm.
for you to have, electrolytes. We need those, and you're drinking Element. Well, Element has 1,000 milligrams of sodium in it, and if you have high blood pressure and it's uncontrolled, especially, it might be too much for you, to take.
Hmm.
So, in Element, you may need to find another electrolyte that doesn't have as much sodium in it, right? So,
They're out there.
you find out you're swelling, and you don't know why am I swelling? Why are my ankles swelling, and why is this and why is that? Or why is my, my hand swelling, my wrist swelling, or whatever. Why am I gaining weight? When I'm eating the same thing, which was good when I was, and it was helping me lose weight. It could be because of the sodium, the excess sodium that you're having, and you may need to,
Hmm.
like I said, you still can drink electrolytes, but you may need something that doesn't have as much sodium. So things of that nature. I found out at one point I was taking an added vitamin C, calcium, D pill, right? A supplement. And when I did my blood work, got my blood work done one time, I found out I had too much calcium, in my system. And so as
Hmm.
soon as I stopped that extra calcium pill, my calcium levels went right back down to normal. So this is what I'm talking about. This is why I'm saying this. You need to know your numbers. I had a video about that. Knowing your numbers is very important. So going to the
Hmm.
doctor, you need to do. You so like I said, find you somebody that you can trust, and that is paying attention to what you're saying, and not just going by the books. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's what I say.
And,
They know best because
on
they know your
on that same
whole.
note,
Uh-huh.
yeah, on that same note, Google is helpful, but Google
Yes.
is not a doctor.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I do look at what I was also saying is, they know everything about you. They have your blood work. They're able to look at it. They went to school for a reason, right? They have your blood work. They're looking at it. They know your history because you told them. Make sure you're telling them as much as you possibly can. Do not try to like hold things back from them. They're here. They are there to help you. And to try to see what's going on. So they have to have every thing that they can possibly have to know about you so that they can give you a good diagnosis. Sometimes we just don't tell them enough so they don't know what's going on. That's why they ask for your history, because some of this
Hmm.
stuff is genetics, and things of that nature. So, don't be shy of, speaking up. Also, make sure you have a list of what, things that's going on in your body, so that when you get to the doctor that you can actually let them know, hey, I have a list and I need to go through this list with you, kind of advocate for yourself so that you
Hmm.
you can get, the best care that you can. You're paying, they're being paid for it. You're giving some money. You may be doing, using a deduct, actually having a deductible versus a copay, but which is much more costly for you at the visit. But you have to make sure that you speak up. You have to make sure. Do not, shy away from it. Make sure you're speaking up about it, or what have you, and that's going to help you in the long run. And
Hmm.
that's with anything that we're doing when it comes to, our health. So important. Yeah. But take also those things that you're learning from us and talk to them about that. So, for instance, Lori, I was told, by somebody in the community, you may need to up. Cause so I did. You asked me about side effects, and I'm sorry, I did not say what side effects I was having. I did say I had them, but I didn't say what side effects. So at one point, I had issues with constipation, not on the 2.5, but on the 5, it started happening,
Hmm.
little by little. And so I would take the like something like Colace. It was the Equate brand though, but it also
Hmm.
had Senna in it. And so, I would use that every now and again, um, because it was just here and there. And so I was used to being very regular when it comes to bowel movements. So with this medication, because it slows the digestion down, or the emptying down, it could cause constipation. That was one of the, the side effects, the um, widespread, I guess you would say, side effects, or common side effects, I should say. And that's when I started feeling that side effect um, on the 5 milligram dosage. And I started taking well, I would say Colace because that's what most people know it by Colace, and that helped me a lot. But when I went to the 7.5 milligram dose, of Mounjaro, I started having constipation a whole lot more. And so I'm like, I don't want to keep taking this medication all the time, this Colace all the time. And now you can do that. Your doctor a lot of times will tell
Hmm.
you it's okay to take Colace. There's nothing wrong with that. But because it had the center in it, I was like, I really don't want to have to depend on another medication. Um, and so I decided, and I don't like taking a whole lot of medications. So I decided to find something natural to do. And, I tried soursop bitters, I tried more water. And I have to be careful with the water because I have kidney disease. I can't drink with so much water and I can't, excuse me. So I had to make sure I was, finding out from my doctor what's best for me, my kidney doctor, what, you know, um, ounce is best for me. A lot of people are like, oh, I drink a gallon of water. Well, that might be too much for me, especially with kidney disease.
Hmm.
So that's another reason why you need to talk to your doctor. But anyway, so with that being said, I said, okay, let me try the soursop bitters. That was helping some. I tried yellow dragon fruit because that's the sweeter one. That was helping
Hmm.
a little bit, but I still was having the problem. So I decided, you know what, I need to figure something else out. So within the community, as I'm listening at people, um, I found out, some people needed to take more than the 25 milligram, I'm sorry, 25 grams of fiber a day. You need to,
Hmm.
digest that or ingest that. So with the GLP-1 medication, people do have issues with constipation, and that may be something that you need to do. So I talked to my dietitian about it. I'm like, hey, what do you think? This person is taking, you know, say for instance, 45 grams of, fiber. Um, and, they said that may be something that I may need to do. And so I was like, that I don't know if that's too much because 25 is where the
Hmm.
what you call it, the daily recommended dose is. 45 is a whole lot. Let me find out from my dietitian. Well, my dietitian was like, well, we don't recommend 45 grams, but try 35 because you need more fiber in your diet, your
Hmm.
daily regimen. And so I started, going after the 35, as a goal for fiber, and that has helped me tremendously. I very, very seldom do have to take the Colace anymore. I don't have to do the soursop bitters, which
Hmm.
what sour, if you ever tried soursop bitters, depending on which brand you use, it is it can be very distasteful. Okay, I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say it that way. Mine wasn't too bad. I did it as a shot or what have you. I did it with something, to make kind of chase the bitterness of the medication. But do I want to take that all the time? No, I did not. Did I want to? I can't even find the yellow dragon fruit in my hometown. Often, very, very seldom can I find it. So I couldn't rely on that. So I had to figure something else out, and fiber was it. And I had already been eating the flaxseed powder, all the time, but that wasn't enough for me to get to that 35
Hmm.
grams a day. So that's what I did. I did that. But I would have known that, if I didn't have a doctor to talk to, if or a
That's
dietitian to
great.
talk to. Yeah. So that's why it's important, I think, to, two reasons why I think it's important to have somebody to talk to that is an actual professional. Now, when it comes to
Hmm.
Google, because I know you mentioned Google, I do
Hmm.
look at Google. I use Google a lot. Now, I know how to use reputable sources because I did go back to school and I got my degree. And when it comes to especially your upper classmen, you know, um, courses, you have to do a lot of research, and they show you how to research, So with that being said, I look at a lot of, I do put my information right in Google in the regular search engine, yes. But then when it's time to really look up stuff, I look up more than one website. I don't just go with that first thing and just,
Right.
and I go with it. I actually also make sure I'm looking at .coms, .orgs, like the Mayo Clinic, because that is a hospital. So they have done extensive research on these things. So I want to make sure I get reputable sources, is what I'm saying. When I look at Google, I also use Chat GPT as well. But
Hmm.
we know that sometimes Chat doesn't give us the right information. So
Right.
yes, going to your doctor is again so important. Yes.
Now, I usually wrap these up with having you give your best advice for somebody that's thinking about starting a GLP-1 medication.
First of all, try to learn as much as you can about it. Don't be scared, about it. Like I said, one thing I know start hearing about it is, oh, it can give you pancreatitis. Excuse me.
And
Oh,
it could.
someone has passed from it. You know, um, yes, that has happened. Or you can get, what is it, the thyroid thing? You can get that.
Hmm.
You know,
Rare, very rare.
Yes, but it's rare. Again, like you said, thank you, Lord, for that. But so just like any other medication, there are side effects to it, and I understand. If you're not used to needles, that it may be kind of scary. You don't know what's going on, what side effects you're going to have, you know, and things of that nature. Some of the things that Lord has asked me today, could be very scary for you, but pray over it. If you decide to go ahead and do your research so that you can see the good things about it. No, just look for the bad things, look for the good things as well. Look
Hmm.
for both, and then do your pros and cons, and find out do you want to try this? Like, how do you normally try anything else that you decide to try? When you had issues maybe with your blood pressure and they gave you medications for it, you know, how hesitant were you with that? You know, were you, you know, even with like when I got on a recent water pill that I, you know, my doctor switched me to, I did research on it. Yes, I did research on it just to see what was the side effects, whether it was good, bad, whatever, you know, and indifferent. And then you have to decide, you know, use your intuition to decide whether you want to actually try it or not. Look for, you know, YouTube videos, anything, you know, social media videos about
Mm-hmm.
it, and you know, you know, just, you know, have your ear, you know, open to see how other people are going, you know, and how they're doing, progressing, you know, with this medication. When it
Correct.
comes to the reason why you're doing it, yes, you may say, you know, you're maybe overweight, you know, morbidly obese or obese or whatever, and you want to lose some weight, and you know, I think it's good to lose the weight to make sure that you get your healthiest, become your healthiest. But you know, think of it as a better health journey, not just, oh, I'm trying to lose weight. You know, do all the natural things that you're supposed to do. You know, I know a lot of people that are naturally losing weight and not using medications or not having weight loss surgery. You know, they hound us about it. You know, they give us grief about it. Don't listen at those people. You know, you have to do what you have to do. You have to do what serves you best. Okay. And if you know
Mm-hmm.
that for some reason, you know, all this time you've tried and you've tried and you've tried, and for some reason you realize that you're having, you know, issues doing all the natural things, and or trying, you know, different diets, and it's not working for you, and you think this GLP-1 medication is going to help you, you know, and you want to try it just like you tried the other things, then, you know, like I said, weigh your pros and cons and do it. You know, do it if you
Mm-hmm.
think that's going to serve you. And you can always get off of it if it doesn't work, you know. If you're having issues, like I said, go to that doctor, because that doctor can, you know, check your blood work when it comes to thyroid. And I'm just pointing up because that's where your thyroid is, your gland is. You know, they're going to ask you for your history to find out if you have, you know, any issues with, you know, pancreatitis within your family, you know, so that you can, you know, decide whether you can get on the medication or not. You know, if for some reason you have to have compound because your insurance company will not, you know, cover the medication, the name brand medications, then do your research. You know, do your
Mm-hmm.
research. You know, listen at the community. I'm sure, you know, you've been on, like Laura. I think you're on a compound medication,
Mm-hmm.
and you know you've been on it for quite a while. And so if it's serving you, I'm looking at you, and I'm like, okay, let me see how she's doing on this. You know, she's still alive. You know, she's
A
still thriving. So, you know, maybe, you know, that can kind of help
lot of
you, you know, looking at,
research.
yeah, yeah. So the research definitely helps. You know, listen at the testimonials definitely help. You know, you make your decision. And a lot of times, um, I notice those people that say they're scared to, you know, do that first injection, or they've been sitting on the medication and everything for, you know, maybe a month or whatever, you know, with a lot of us don't mind, you know, coaching you through it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
your first one. Even content creators, you know, I've been on a, you know, a content creators channel. It's like, hey, you know, they you know, decided to take, you know, maybe they was on Wegovy and they decided to go to Zepbound, and you know, or taking Mounjaro or something like that, maybe in the chat. And then I'm like, hey, I'm here for you. Let me let you, you know some things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, about it. And, you know, we're here to coach you. We're here to help you. We're here to work through it with you, your anxiety, you know, and everything. But I noticed that after that first injection, it's like, oh, it wasn't as bad as I thought. You know, for those who were scared of taking, you know, I mean, actually giving themselves a shot. Some people use, you know, let one of their family members help them, and that's fine too. You know, I know somebody that's always, you know, they've been on the journey for a long time, and they still have somebody help them, you know, give themselves their shot, you know,
Absolutely.
their medication, and that's fine. You know, do what you have to do. You
Uh-huh.
know, that whatever is going to serve you best is, you know, how I like to put it.
Uh,
And of course, like I said, I had side effects. I've had constipation. I've had, you know, issues with the injection, having itchiness on the injection site. I've had I haven't really experienced diarrhea. But what else have I had? Those are the biggest things probably for me
Hmm.
having, is that itchy redness on the injection site. And I found, something that's helping me with that. And the constipation, I've told you, I found something to help me with that. And that's the, higher fiber intake. Those are the main two things. You can go on my channel and check out, some other things. I will be sharing
Hmm.
more with you all this year. I know I can't get everything in this, in this like hour power or whatever, but yeah, yeah,
I
you
just
got
want to
this,
bring
you
up
got this.
for those of you that are really afraid of the injection. I'm not exactly sure. This probably won't come out for about 2 to 3 weeks, but as of 2 days ago, there is now an oral form of
Yes,
Wegovy. So, there's hope for that, if you're
yes,
that afraid of it. So,
yes,
just keep doing your research, keep following us content creators, because we're going to let you know about this kind of stuff.
yes, yes. And I heard that the pill that they have coming out, that it's really really good. It has really good
It
results.
actually
Yeah,
came out
yeah.
two
Oh,
two
it
days
came out.
ago.
Yes, yes. It had really good
Hmm.
results. Yes. Yep.
So, with that, I'm going to call this a wrap. I want to thank you for
Okay.
your time. It's been
Yes.
a pleasure.